Hey YouTube, what's happening? Chris here. I want to bring you all a quick update on Litecoin. Right now we're at 67.07. We're down 4.93%. You guys, my alarm hit last night, so that's why I no longer have this alarm. I think it was like at 67.35 or so. We ended up hitting that alarm, and we have now broken down through that. So that is no longer there. I'm going to have to set a new one, but I still have my upside target here at 76.21. That's if we do get up through these moving averages. That's where I would look to, guys, to see if we get a strong break out of that trend line, that overhead trend line that we've been dealing with. So we're going to dig into a few things here, guys. Just want to show you we're going to be working on that 4-hour chart again. We're going to go out to the day a little bit as well. So we're going to get into quite a few things here. I'm happy to be here with you, and happy Sunday. If you like what we do here, guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I greatly appreciate you being here with me. So, guys, first of all, the bearish things I've been seeing, like we were talking about last night, we have lost all these moving averages now. We're below the 30 EMA, we're below the 50, we're below the 100, and we're below the 200-day moving average on the 4-hour chart. Remember, this is not the 1-day chart. This is the 4-hour chart we're looking at right now. So what we've been dealing with, guys, is this trend line in yellow that's just been pressing down. Each time we come up off our reaction, we hit it and we fall back down. We hit it, we fall back down. And, guys, now we have on top of this trend line acting as overhead resistance. We also have these moving averages acting as overhead resistance. Remember, we want to think of moving averages like a river. Here, guys, people were buying anytime we got down to around that 100 moving average or that 50 moving average or even that 200-day moving average. Guys, we're going long on that area. Now what you're seeing is people are actually shorting off these moving averages. So each time we do end up hitting this 30 moving average, we've been falling back down. So really keep that in the back of your mind. You know, another thing, guys, what I was looking at is this move was so big and so explosive here. We didn't have any support or resistance, really. We just blasted straight up through there. So it was basically built on stilts. And what you're seeing on this backside now, and why I feel like we could even go lower than this 67.04, is just due to the fact, guys, of no support or resistance here. If you have a straight blast here, you can basically have a straight fall on the backside. So just be aware of that. And right now, guys, this has been basically a short-term downtrend is what you want to realize. You know, we're all about trends and identifying the trend. So in terms of the actual uptrend on the 1-day chart, this yellow line down here, we're in an intermediate term bullish uptrend. But here in the short term, remember, you're going to have primary trends, you're going to have minor trends, all that. So your minor trend that we're dealing with right now is this downtrend. We're dealing with lower highs and lower lows that have been coming in. So for me right now, where I have some buy targets at, guys, are right down here around this $62.36. That's where I would like to see a bounce. Also because we have all this area here, guys, where we move sideways and we finally broke up through, and we want old resistance to become new support. We would want to consolidate on that. And also when you study and read about throwbacks, what you'll notice is a lot of the times, you know, you'll have a big move like this, and this move will actually be erased on the backside, and you'll come back to this normal pointer where you broke out from, and that's where the trend will continue to the upside there. And we cannot continue to the upside until we break through some of these moving averages here, which with basically death crosses that are taking place. We're having this 30 cross over this 200. The 100 wants to cross over, getting close to this 200. So those are also going to be things that are pressing us down. But we will not be able to move to the upside again until we break through this downward trend line that I have there. And I went off the real bodies, guys. I can't overemphasize trend line breaks to the upside or the downside. For us to move to the upside, we have to break through that, and it has to be on good volume. Otherwise, you'll have a breakout, and you'll probably fall back through again, and you'll continue to move to the downside. So next thing I wanted to show you was the RSI. Now the RSI, we're in extreme, basically oversold territory on the 4-hour chart here. 30 and under is that oversold. Remember, in cryptocurrency you can get very low, but I wanted to point this fact out to you. We're at 26 now, but you see this red line that I've drawn. So basically each time we've hit this red line, we have gained back up. Here we hit this red line, we moved back up. Here we hit the red line, moved up. Here, same deal. So right now, guys, we're actually at that area, and it looks like we're breaking down through it a little bit right now, but you would expect some type of a bounce off that if we are to move to the upside here in the next 4 hours, 8 hours when you're looking at these candles. But that's really not seeming to be the case right now. We're not getting a very strong bounce, and what you can also do is throw a trend line on here, and it looks like we're almost having one of those descending triangles on the RSI. So you're chopping around in here, you're having lower highs, and then you're having this flat bottom. And if you break down out of there, then it can be somewhat of a heinous break, guys. So just be aware of that. But we are at a lower level here where we have been getting some bounces around that 26. So we're going to have to see if the bulls step in. If the bulls don't step in, then I'd look down around that $62 or $63 range. You know, in quite a while, guys, when we were having this blast off, there were some people when we were up around 85, 90, whatever, they're calling me crazy, but I was looking at all these indicators and I'm seeing everything that's showing that eventually we will start to roll over to the downside, and that's exactly what's been taking place. And I've had buy orders in place for quite a while here around that 62.36. I have something like 62.18. I even have them all the way down to around that $50, which is pretty close to around that 200-day moving average on the one-day chart, which we're also going to zoom out on. But on the 4 hours, guys, we have lost all these moving averages. So really keep that in the back of your mind. That could be a sign of further downside, guys. Or even, you know, we could have this reaction where we bounce up for a few, you know, maybe even a day or so, and then we fall back down again. So be aware of that. Now, if we go out to the one-day chart, which I want to show you, now we're going to look at some key moving averages here and see where we could potentially find some bounces. All right. So guys, remember, yellow line here, this is still, everything's beautiful right now. We're still healthy in terms of Litecoin. We are still in an intermediate term bullish uptrend. As long as we do not lose this 200-day moving average or this yellow trend line down here, I'm extremely bullish on Litecoin. I'm very happy with everything that's been going on, but we will need to see those hold. I'd even like to see this 100-day moving average hold. So if 62 whatever does not hold, then I would be looking down here around that 55.99, that 100-day moving average. And if that does not hold, this is where I also have some buys down in this area right here. See if we can pick up some more before we eventually start to move back to the upside. And with the halving, all that stuff taking place, guys, I feel like the lower this goes, the more opportunity it is to buy cheaper Litecoin, because come, you know, June, July, August, all those times around the halving, I bet there's going to be some craziness going on, and you're going to see this happen a few more times. So, you know, it's one of those things that if you're a longer term investor, you do want to have your bags packed and you want to look for these retracements or whatnot so you can get a good deal. You know, I'm glad people weren't buying up in this area when we were seeing all these wicks. That's what you don't want to do. That you don't want to be bag holders when you're seeing an RSI real high up at 85, 86, 87. You just don't want to jump in there, and that's what I'm going to do. Try to be here for you guys. I'm more of a conservative trader. I want to let the market come to me. I don't want to chase any coins. So that's what I'm looking at. But you can see this 30 EMA now, guys, which we've held since February 6th, is now acting as overhead resistance along with this trend line, which that was drawn on the 4-hour chart, guys. So I'll just move that out of the way. But along with that trend line that was coming, and now we have also lost this 50 moving average. We were holding for about 2 days there. We had a few wicks below it, and now we're actually broke down through that, and we're going to have to see where we close today. If we do close below that, further downside will most likely be coming, guys. But if we got sucked back up here and we actually ended up back above that 50 moving average, we would have to see if we could break back up to the upside here and try to get over this 30 EMA. But you can see it's starting to hook, and that's a sign that it's going to start pushing us to the downside a little bit more, and that's exactly what's happening right now. All right, next thing I want to look at is the Fibonacci with you and see if there's any spots that we could potentially get some bounces off of from this overall move. So in this overall move, guys, we're breaking down through this 0.382. So yet again, I would look at that 0.5 around that 61.22. That's my hot spot. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a little rectangle here. And this is where I would expect us to get some type of bounce here, guys, from this whole area right in here. That's where I'm looking at, roughly. That's just a rough little estimate, maybe even drag this down a little bit more, but this is a key area that we would want to see some type of a bounce off of, or defended. We would want to see it defended. Old resistance, this was our old resistance. We're making the move here. We want to see it become new support. I cannot overemphasize that enough. Old resistance becoming new support is very bullish. Okay, so let's get this off here. And now what we're going to do is go through a few indicators. And what I want to show you is the stock RSI. And with the stock RSI, guys, we're still very low here, so there's plenty of room to run, which is exciting. So that's another reason why we potentially round in this area here, we could get a bounce to that upside, because there is nice room to run here. So I want you to be aware that the stock RSI, we're in oversold conditions right now. So we should be getting a bounce at some times in terms of the stock. Next one I want to look at is the MACD. And remember, these things can take time, guys. Just like we were talking about in this massive move here, it takes time, almost 20 days with this correction moving to the downside here. So we had the bearish cross, and if you would have got out when we did have that bearish cross, guys, that would have been on this candle right here. And then we started to get moved to the downside, and you could see that the histogram also was into the downside there, and it was starting to try to become a little bit more neutral. Let me pull that back up. I accidentally deleted it for you. But you can see here we had that bearish cross that came place, and now we're just very opened up here, and you can see the histogram as well just starting to flatten out, but we are definitely in that negative territory there on the MACD. So keep that in mind as well. Next one I want to do is the Bollinger Band, see if we're getting overextended to the downside. Okay, so yes, we are down here, guys. We're at that lower part of the Bollinger Band right now. So, you know, on top of having the middle band on top of us, the 30 on top of us, and now the 50 acting as overhead resistance, depending on where we close today, you know, that's it. We're in a tough spot right now. We're just going to have to see where this eventually ends. But that's what you'll have, guys, are these lower highs and lower lows that are taking place. And that's what you want to keep your eye on. Let me see if there's any other ones that I wanted to bring to you here. Let's do the RSI on the 1 day, just to check. And I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, guys, getting some time with your family, whatnot. Appreciate you being here with me. So remember I talked about trend lines and how I like to draw them on the RSI. This little secret for y'all right here. Do you see this trend line right there? And I talk about trend line breaks. What happened when we broke down here? We tried to retest this area, and then we fell back to the downside again. And that's typically what happens, especially when we've held these higher lows for so long and we break down through them, guys. So, you know, we're at 37 right now. There's still more room to the downside on the 1 day chart. We could go a little bit lower here, and what we would look for is maybe a bounce around that 28 on the RSI. Then ultimately I'd look down around that 15 on the RSI where we had this low right here. I don't think we're going to be getting that low, but that's something that you want to keep on your radar, guys. And also, when we're having this big sell-off, do you see this, how the price is getting lower and lower? We went all the way to 22, but what we did, we set a higher low here, and this is when you would want to be jumping back into Litecoin here. So say you're out of it during this bear market and you saw this happen, and you saw the price going down and the RSI going up, and we were making higher lows, that would have been the spot to get in right there. So, you know, guys, I just want to give you a very quick update on Litecoin. Right now, this is what we're looking at. This is a very bearish candle that is forming on the 1 day. I want you to know it's a very powerful candle. Basically, the bulls couldn't even push up at all today. We've just been dominated, and now they're pushing down. The bears are, and we want to see where this is going to stop. Okay, guys, if there's going to be an area in here where we start moving sideways, or if it's going to be down around this area where I'm suspecting around that $61, see if we will get that low or not. So, you know, guys, just start thinking about these areas, thinking about accumulating, you know, in good spots for the long term for Litecoin. Remember, you know, I'm not your financial advisor, but down the road, guys, you know, Litecoin with the halving, and I believe only, what's it, 84 million that'll ever be created. There's not a lot of Litecoin. It's an OG. It's time tested. It's on all the exchanges. There's just so many good things that are happening. Atomic swaps between Litecoin and Bitcoin. There's so much going on for Litecoin, and it is my favorite project. And, you know, you also got to think about it in terms of long-term investing. You don't want to basically miss out on a huge opportunity, because as opposed to buying down here around 62 or whatever, you say, oh, for sure, I think it's going down to 50, and it may never get down there. That's why there's a beauty in laddering. You know, even if you want to start laddering up here and slowly buying them, and then just get heavier bids as you go down, heavier bids, and then maybe even along this trend line where we believe that most likely we will get a bounce, you can load up some bids there, and if you're wrong, then you have a stop loss underneath, and that's what it is. But, you know, you can't discredit these moving averages, and the fact that we have lost these moving averages, it's a big deal. The 30 EMA is gone, and as of right now the 50 is gone, but we're going to have to see where we close. So, you know, guys, volume's still falling off, but these are the things I want to bring you, give you a quick update here. We're at 67.20, we're down 4.75%, and this here, guys, is the reason we do not chase coins. And you can go back through all my older videos and look, even in the past couple weeks, how I was saying don't chase, it's going to come back to us. And that's what happens. That's how the market moves. Professional traders were taking their profits up in this area, and we pushed a little higher due to retail FOMO, and then here's the sell-off. Do you see that? There's the drop, we have a bear flag, and then we drop again. So we're going to have to see if we have a reaction maybe up to this area, if we're going to fall back down, or if we're actually going to break through that upper trend line there. So I'm going to be looking at the 4-hour, I'm going to be looking at the 8-hour, the 12, the 16, and then the 1 day. But right now we are finishing with the 1 day. We're at 64.24, guys. If you like what we do here, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share. I appreciate you being here with me, my friends. God bless you all and take care.